In a world with entirely too many shows about cars, this is another pointless automotive podcast.
Motor Brother, we're good to go. So Motor Trend, who I generally trust their times implicitly.
Yeah.
They're pretty good at what they do. They're actually extremely good at what they do. The Chevy Cobalt SS, 2007 model, that's the turbocharged version, 260-ish horsepower. Put down an 822 around the Nürburgring.
Oh, that's not a bad time at all.
Which sounds good and quick. The Nürburgring. What do you think? What do you think? This is another pointless automotive podcast, to be specific. If you haven't picked up on that, and we're just jumping right into some quick. We're already on a tangent. Cobalt SS, an 822.85 on the Nürburgring, done in October of 2007 by your friends at Motor Trend. Just behind it is what do you think it's punching? Where do you think it would be if you were to pick some other cars that you think would have a very similar rim time within a few seconds in either direction? What would you think? What would you think, my friend?
I know the GTRs kind of beat that up, so it's not going to be in that territory.
So, like an R35.
Yeah, because that thing put in the sevens.
Tell you what, it's close. It's almost closest time on here. It's R32 Skyline GTR. However, that is they're calling it damp condition, wet time. Not wet, but damp.
Do I make you damp?
Yes, but that's not neither here nor there. Really close to it. Yeah. A 987 Boxster S. So an 06 Boxster S.
That's incredible.
Was within 0.15
to a front
0.15 seconds.
To a front wheel drive GM product based on an economy car.
Also really, really close to it within 1 second. 964 Carrera RS.
What?
Also within a second and a half. Mitsubishi Evo 6 and 7 are right there. Faster, it's about 2 seconds faster than a Lotus Exige S. Also faster than an XKR. A 987 Cayman S does an 8.25, so almost just over 3 full seconds faster.
That's
than your Cayman there. Going the other direction, we're looking at that barely beat it out. A C55 AMG. That's a W203 chassis, I suppose. So 2004 model. Same time as an E46 M3. And then we start getting a couple seconds faster with the 2010 Camaro SS. Ferrari 355 is 4 seconds faster. And that 4 seconds faster sounds like a lot because we're used to thinking about like Laguna Seca.
Yeah, well, this is 13 plus miles.
Right, we're talking 8 minutes and 18 seconds
That's
versus 8 minutes and 22.85.
The green hell, yeah.
ISF is the same time. M135i, the F10 chassis, is that same time, that 18.8. NSX, first gen NSX is at 8.16.
Okay.
So, within
fast company
of seconds. That is. Dude, that's turbocharged Cobalt SS, my friend.
That's just showing how modern cars are so much quicker.
And but that's what's crazy is that's not even modern, right? That's a 15-plus-year-old car at this point, but it was still putting down times. If I want to go more modern, let me go up the list here.
We're doing a deep dive
on
times today, guys.
This is the unintended ring episode. So you know how people the new Supra, it's kind of it's not that cool.
Yeah,
it's
a quick car.
It's quick, whatever. That put down a 7 minute 52 second time.
Okay.
Which is very fast. That's 996 GT3 time on here.
It's quick.
That is, if we're looking at some other older stuff, that's an F430. That's 3 seconds faster than an F430. So yeah, your point.
Those Cobalts were so fast when they came out.
The Cobalts are fast. But new stuff, also very fast.
Very fast. Yeah, we gotta track a Cobalt down.
Speaking of stuff that's decidedly un-new.
Yeah. You had some fun this weekend.
I did have some fun this weekend. I attended RADwood NorCal 2022, which is not my first RADwood to attend. I went last year's, but I did not bring a car last year. I did bring a car. This year, I was a participant. I paid money at the gate to park my car for other people to enjoy.
Nice.
Which is always interesting. I always thought that the whole pay to enter your car into a car show thing was kind of weird, because there would be no car show with no cars, and so you think it would be like pay to spectate and like free to bring a qualified vehicle.
Sure.
But I'm okay, because I did it under the guise of a business venture, because I brought my 91 Subaru Sambar Dias, I think that's how you say it, which I've turned into a photo booth. That's my little photo booth project mobile. So it was there, I just ran it for free, handed out pogs, let people play video games in the back. It was a great time. You sadly were not able to attend.
No, unfortunately, I didn't make it this year. The last time I went to a RADwood event, I went to NorCal 2019.
Yes, okay.
In which I brought the Taurus SHO, the 89.
I vaguely know that car, yeah.
Yeah, and the fuel pump gave up the ghost on the way home, which was...
Better on the way home than on the way there.
True. Yeah, it showed up, it brought its A game, and then left it on the highway.
And then it brought its FU game.
Yeah.
It's just, left it high and dry.
That was fun. No, just like a jalopy should, they should fail you at inopportune times, and it did a great job.
For those who somehow are listening to this podcast but don't know what RADwood is, would you care to explain, my friend? What is RADwood?
So RADwood, it's definitely the market leader. I know there's been some imitations and other aspirational attempts.
Maybe we'll make a dollar store edition, the APA,
nothing worth over $5,000.
Exactly, yeah, kind of like
so basically it celebrates all things 80s and 90s revolving around the automotive world. Also like music, culture, dress, music. Again, there's usually like live stuff going on, like skateboarders, BMXers. There's all this kind of cool stuff that harkens back to the 80s and 90s. So it's like an all-encompassing thing. People are encouraged and usually do dress period correct.
Right.
Vehicles tend to be period correct. So if you have an 80s or 90s car, it tends to be modified in a period correct fashion.
Yeah, a lot of modified cars.
Which is so cool.
Like period correct mods.
But these shows have always been great because the way they organize it, the way they set it up, it's really more of an experience. You go there and it's kind of like going back in time and seeing these things that were cool then, seeing everybody dressed the same. So I always thought the amount of effort they put into making this an actual legit event was so cool. And the cars you see are just cars you don't see all the time.
That's part of my favorite.
It's wild.
That's part of my favorite deal with it is, yes, it's fun to see, and I'll come with the full RADwood report here in a moment. And that's not to be confused with the Rad report. That is, I don't remember his name. But everyone's good friend on the Instagram mobile who has the Rad report. And he puts up cars for sale and such. So not that, but the Rad report. I'll kind of break down some of the cool stuff that I saw there.
Heck yeah.
But yes, a lot of period correct mods. And while there are some really cool stuff, like there was a Diablo VT, like an immaculate, really cool, unusual, like finely metallic gray Diablo VT. There's a lot, there's that stuff, But the highlight for me is kind of what you just said, like the stuff that is like a pure survivor of something that nobody kept.
And thusly is actually the most rare car.
Exactly.
Right? It's like
you'll think of like a Mercury Topaz, all-wheel drive, diesel or something. I know. Did they make those in a diesel? I don't know. I don't know.
That would be sweet. And it has like 30,000 miles. Still has like
30,000 miles.
The tissue box in the back.
It's got the original window sticker. There's like a lot of cool stuff like that.
Love that stuff.
And that has always kind of been the highlight for me. It's like the stuff that never is even really collectible, but somehow got saved.
Right.
And then not only is it like, was it saved, but now it's being appreciated and brought out for the masses to like imbibe.
So cool.
So there was a lot of that. And that's kind of the highlight of stuff for me. But then there's also just weird stuff. How about this? Should I just spit out? I made a little list of things that I saw.
Yeah.
So let me just shoot from the hip and then you can kind of wax poetic on some of the stuff.
Let's do that. Yeah, if you want to bring up some points about a certain car, let's stop on a key item and talk it over.
A key item or a K item. Ooh, perhaps. So I brought my Sandbar, which is a K car. For the uninitiated, a K car is a classification of motor vehicle from Japan, unique to Japan, and the fact that they have to fit within very tiny, minuscule, specific dimensions, and that's height, weight, width, length, the size of the engine, very small. Generally, at this point, the goalposts have moved over the course of years, but right now, I believe still it's 660 cc is the max. A max horsepower, which I believe was and still is 63 horsepower currently. And you get like a huge tax incentives and all kinds of stuff in Japan if you have one of these little 850 cars. A lot of them are now 25 years or older, so a lot of them are getting imported. And I have one of them. That's my Sambar, which does meet the K-car classifications. Yeah, and there was a handful of various types of K-car. Do you have a favorite K-car in general? At least off the top of your head? I'm kind of putting you on the spot here.
Boy, yeah, there's a few I really like. I love the, was it the Beat Turbo? City Turbo that came with the little moto bike in the back.
Yes, Honda City Turbo. There might have been one. I did not see one there this year. I had seen them in last year when I went. I think there were two, and both of them had I believe it's called the Moto Campo, which is a little tiny fold-up scooter that goes into the back of a tiny car. So you got to think about how small. It's not like it's pulling into the back of a Buick Park Avenue. It's like
the bike actually folds up in like the footprint of a modern suitcase. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like a suitcase. It's almost like one of those like compact like Honda generators people take camping.
Yeah,
it's like that, except like
super.
It unfolds into a bike that you can ride around.
Always like those. I always thought
the coolest thing.
The Sarah looked cool. I think it's in
Sarah. I don't know.
You don't see as many of those.
Well, I don't know if that's technically a K car. I think that's just a JDM import. I don't think they're small, but I don't think they're quite that small. But yeah, Honda City Turbo. And then you have like the Turbo 2. And then you have like which they're incredibly cool. That might be, boy, I'd like one of those. Or like a Suzuki Alto Works.
Those were cool.
Those were cool. I didn't see any of those. There was a very nice Honda Acti Street EX.
Okay.
Which K cars have some of the JDM cars in general, but K cars do have some of the best like submodel.
Oh, of course.
Names.
Yeah.
You know.
I love how they have like English names too. I think that's one of the coolest things.
Yeah, when you had all the Nissan, they like hi, this is my Nissan Cedric.
Yeah.
What? Gloria, Sylvia, they're just named after just like Western human names.
Yep.
Because I think the story goes that like, that was just like, for whatever reason, like traditional old people Western names was like a really cool thing in Japan in like the 80s and 90s for some reason.
Or they named after like beautiful women, you know, like just
like Cedric the Entertainer.
Yeah. Cedric's looking good.
Exactly. Ooh.
No, for small stature.
He's no longer with us, right? We lost Cedric.
I think a while back.
May he rest in peace.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
You know what though? That you brought up all those K-car qualifications. Mm-hmm. It reminded me, like Japan's always had this really cool. Remember the gentleman agreement on horsepower?
Yes.
276. No one could go over. Yeah, I'll never forget that number because like NSX 276, Supra twin turbo 276.
Yeah,
you know,
it's got R34
276.
276.
And they died at 330, 340.
Yeah, it's like, wait, why is this one car like 380 pounds
heavier,
or kilograms or whatever, heavier, but significantly faster if they have the same power?
They have the same power, man. Don't look into it. But I always thought that was such a cool concept, right? And I'll never forget 276.
Yeah,
I think it's just a perfect dyno number.
Sounds like you've played yourself a little bit of Gran Turismo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it just reminded me of that, though. I love that.
Definitely. So they had this. They had the Acti Street EX, which was I think near top trim level.
Okay.
It was like a maroon, very clean, and that's very similar to my Sambar van. So it's a K van, people mover edition. So it's got a back seat and all that, so some creature comforts. There was and this one's pretty renowned here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I believe he's Teeny Tiny Fire Truck on Instagram. It is I think it's a 91. Don't quote me on that. Daihatsu Hijet fire truck. Like it was a Japanese fire truck in like the rural ski region of I don't know, Nagano or something like that.
It's pretty
awesome. And it lived in the guy has a photo he found on like Google Street View of the actual little tiny firehouse bunker that it lived in its whole life until it was imported. Really cool. And so he goes around. He'll drive from firehouse to firehouse. He's like really active in the local community, and so he's always at car shows.
Super cool.
He'll like cook up yakitori in the back of the fire truck. It's incredibly cool. And then there were 2 AutoZam AZ1s.
Those are pretty popular.
Both very clean.
Yeah.
They've got some value. I want to say like one recently, or pseudo recently, within the last year, sold for I want to say like 30 or 35. But it was like immaculate.
It's incredible. Red,
super low. It was the one you want. And then a pair of Honda Beats.
Beats are cool.
Beats are cool. One was a very clean red one, and then one was a decently clean white one, which is Senor Jason Camisas, who's of automobile lore. And yeah, very, very cool cars. I like the Beat. There were no, okay, so are you familiar with the concept of the ABC cars? So you have the AZ1, the Beat, and then the C is the Cappuccino. And those were like the three all-star like K sports cars from the 90s. There was like a little brief chunk of time where you can get like a straight up pure sports car. And those were kind of the 3.
Yeah, the Suzuki
Cappuccino.
Yeah, super cool. At one of the Miata reunions, I used to go to the Miata reunion every year when it was at Laguna Seca,
right
down in Monterey. So we went and there was like a Cappuccino snuck in the parking lot and was parked with all the Miatas because it is a convertible, but it is rear-wheel drive and mid-engine, which is notable.
Yeah, it's like front mid.
Yeah,
it's like front mid. So it's like pushed back into the firewall, but it's a little 3-cylinder, so you can get away with it even in a tiny chassis.
It looks different. I mean, it looks small compared to Miatas, which is wild to think about. But it was like one of the funniest things. Like everyone was taking photos. They're like, one of these things doesn't belong here. It's like a Cappuccino snuck in.
Well, it's funny when you see something like that parked to a Miata, and it's the Miata like makes it look tiny. You know, it's worse.
It's actually a little taller than the Miata, which was interesting. So it's like it's stubbier, but taller for sure. Miatas are pretty low, even from the factory. But
I'd really like Cappuccino. The Beats are really cool though.
Beats are super cool. I think I would take out of those. I'd probably take the Cappuccino though. I just like the way it looks.
I would like an like if it was even money across the board, I'd take the AZ1. But the AZ1 can command such a premium.
I want to take the roof off though.
Fair, but gullwing doors.
I know, but I could probably barely fit in an AZ1.
True. You are slightly thicker with multiple C's than I am.
Well, they say stay home if you're sick. Come out if you're drive a AutoZam if you're not thick.
That's true. If you're weighty and emaciated like I am. Actually, less and less nowadays. But
they call it character.
They do. I'm cultivating mass. Camisa was funny. He was talking about that. I was talking to him briefly about his Beat and him contemplating a custom license plate because it's a Beat, and so you can add whatever onto it. And I made some poor choices. But one thing I just thought of in I don't know how you'd spell it to get it to fit within like 7 characters. If you can have it say like a dead horse, like ADEDHRS, that'd be a good one. Beat a dead horse. Yeah. So I think that was it as far as K cars.
Okay. They're pretty popular. I mean,
I think that's what my takeaway was is they're becoming more and more popular, which is weird here in California because you have to jump through some serious hoops to be able to.
How many of them had California plates? That's
0.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an impossibility.
It sucks.
But that's what I'm getting at. Is just like here in California, you have to kind of I don't want to say move mountains, but at the very least form an LLC or something to be able to register one out of state via mail. So but I think they're becoming so popular. Do you think they're under threat of becoming so popular that they're like the hipster popular choice and then they become uncool?
I think they are because most of them are, a lot of these you can buy from like Washington State, which is an easy place to import them. So I'd say, I mean, they're becoming, gas prices too, right?
That's what I mean.
Gas prices are rough right now and these cars, they run on fuel. They're basically motorcycle engines, right?
Yeah.
So you're getting
you could beat one into the ground.
You could Honda beat
exactly.
into the ground, yeah.
And it will, I mean, you'll still probably get 40 miles an hour.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, if I wouldn't want to take it on a cross-country road trip.
Good Lord. Well, you did drive a Metro convertible down to LA.
I
Up San Diego, even.
I did,
Like
but
a
like
Batman.
that was churning like 4,000 RPM at like 70-ish miles an hour, maybe a little bit more, maybe more like 42, 4,300,
Sure.
which is a lot. But it's not like 7,000 RPM,
But
7,500 RPM.
Build quality, my friend? Like, we're talking about Hondas versus Geo?
Well, Suzuki. I mean, it was a Suzuki Cultus.
Yeah.
It was bad, but I mean, a lot of the K cars. I mean, mine is buttoned up pretty well. It's not great materials, but it's a Subaru. It's a '90s Subaru. So it holds up. But yeah, I think they are becoming. And here's the thing: I've got a splash of hipster in me. I kind of want another one. I kind of want to. Yeah, I'm looking. I've got like pulled up over here, like on my literally like earlier today. I was looking at like check out this is an Acti. Check out that beautiful Acti Street. Like I don't need another one, but I kind of want another one. But I feel like I would want like something different. I would maybe try and find an Alto Works with a manual.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Something. Because here's the thing, I'm always stressing out about like my collection of beaters.
Right.
And if they're tiny, I can like. It
Double-
doesn't impact me as much,
double
you know?
park,
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
adorable. No one's gonna like angry for you parking your adorable K car on the street.
What's the Daihatsu Copen? Was that considered a K car, or was
Ooh.
that a little bigger?
I don't know. I
Those
don't know
are
that
pretty.
one.
I remember those being pretty cool looking.
Let
You'll like
me-
that.
Let me look up on the auctions
I
here.
think it reminds me of a cappuccino now.
Daihatsu. See if there's any right now. Copen. Oh, there's a lot of Copens available.
Yeah, baby.
A lot of Copens out there.
I
Baby.
thought those were pretty.
Oh, they're all newer. This is a 2002. Is the
Oh, they
oldest
made them
one.
for a long time, dude.
Yeah, the oldest one is a 2002.
Check them out though.
Ooh, those are dope.
I know, right?
Those are, yeah, 660cc. So that's
Ooh.
definitely.
Get that yellow one at the top.
Not be too new. Well, that's the thing. It's got to be 25 or older, so it's got to be 97.
How cool do these things look?
I think it's dope.
And
we
it drops the top, baby.
we gotta do. You know what we should do? We should make poor life choices, and we should. I'm
Done.
more of them.
Done.
And we should do a. Oh god. We should do a live actually bidding on cars in Japan edition episode where we say, okay, we're gonna spend no more than like $4,000 and buy something stupid, and we try and get our bids in.
I mean, I'm game.
Trans global.
Yeah.
So there were some K cars.
Okay, cool.
As far as Japanese stuff, what else do I have on here that was Japanese? Boatload of Skylines.
R32s are pretty prevalent now.
R32, so they had a lineup where they literally had an R30,
Ooh.
which is I think it was an 82 or an 83. Skyline RS 2000, I think was the designation. Very cool, very boxy.
Yeah.
Kind of like an early Toyota Sorter. So super boxy, boxy, like early 80s Nissan dashboard, digital gauges.
Cressida looks too. Kind of.
Yep.
Very similar.
Yep. 2-door, bright red, two-tone,
Ooh.
very, very cool. Circle taillights.
Of course. Yeah.
That was incredibly cool. So they had an R30 parked next to an R32, next to an R33, next to an R34, all in a lineup indoors, which was very cool. And then there were a couple of other. There was another R30, similar spec, and I think they had one more R32 that was there.
Okay.
Favorite Skyline, go.
I gotta say R34.
It's passe, but you're right.
I
Like
mean,
people said, like it's funny, like the R33 was kind of like the stepchild one.
Sure.
Nobody kind of was like, oh, it was more expensive, but it was a little heavier. And
More
the
grand
R32
touring
was more grand touring, but the R34, and I'm kind of on board with the R33. I think it's really cool. But
If you had to choose, if you
yeah,
had
if
to
I'm
pick
picking
choice,
one, the
yeah,
R34. I would go R34, R33, R32. Actually, I really like that R30.
I like
early,
the
early ones.
I still think I take a 32 as a driver before I take the 30. The 30 looks cool, but the 32 is a great driver too.
Yeah.
R34, V-Spec 2, Nürburgring.
Yeah, you go
That's
in
the
the
one I
what's the what do they call it? Not plum crazy purple, whatever that purple color is.
They
Like
have
that-
amazing. Yeah, the blue. I'd have
like
to go with the
midnight
traditional
violet or
blue,
something.
whatever that.
Sure.
I think it's
yeah.
electric blue too, which is like my NX2000 or NX2000 color.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, those cars look good in every color. People are like, oh, you know, the R32 is better because it's a little more rounded and it's more affordable and stuff. And okay, it is more affordable, and I do like the R33, but the R34 is.
It was a giant slayer. That thing
Anyone
destroyed everything.
who ever played Gran Turismo, that is the greatest car, dude. Not ever, but kind of ever. Like at least in the game. And so, like, if you
There's always
have
a top
10,000 hours in that that video game or whatever. It's just such a cool car. So
Speaking of Gran Turismo, the digital display in the R34 was done by Polyphony Digital, the company that makes Gran Turismo.
there you go.
They actually did the graphics for that.
Didn't somebody was like the guys, the makers of Fortnite or something, just did the one in the new Hummer, the Hummer EV? So like,
I think so, that's all the animations where it shows it going through this desert.
like it blasts through a brick wall when you put it in brick wall mode or something. I don't know.
I mean, they should be like because it is a graphics interface, but it's like
Sure.
I always thought that was
baby.
like Polyphony did that in the G meter and the everything else inside the R34. They did the whole display. I thought that was so cool. But yeah, the R34, I just like the looks.
It's such a good look.
It's kind of like just the fender flares, the way it stands, the different sized tail lights look perfect.
Yeah, and I tend to be like,
Squared front end.
yeah, I tend to skew more understated in my cars, but damn it, not in a Skyline. Not in that car.
Well,
That
same
car
with
is just
Evos.
good.
Like I'll take an Evo 5. That thing just looks like a
Yeah.
straight up rally machine from the factory.
Yeah, Evo 5. I mean, really, Evo. They just got more. It's funny, they got more and more aggro as you went down the line until you got to 10. And then 10 was
7
like,
took a step back.
10 was a little
7
buttoned
took
up.
a step back from the top.
Yeah, the early, like 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
With the big honking fog lights and all that.
So good.
Other JDM or at least Japanese stuff. So there was a single Galant VR form.
What?
Nile black, lowered. It wasn't heavily modified, but it was definitely modified. It had like Recaro, bright red Recaro front buckets in it. And different
okay.
shifter and stuff. Clear coat was failing. It was it seemed like a pretty decent car. I bet you it drove fantastically.
Sure.
That was the only Galant VR form. There was not a huge Mitsubishi showing this year.
No other DSMs or anything?
I want to say there were a couple of, I can't remember specifically. Like if they were, it was like probably pretty modified. I don't remember being blown away. The stuff that sticks out in my mind is the more super clean factory appearance stuff. So I don't remember too much on the DSM front. There were a couple of Delicas. There was a Starion, which was modified. I think it was black. But that was kind of it. I didn't see a single Stealth or 3000 GT.
Yikes. They're getting harder to find. I think that's
They are
what
getting
it
harder
is.
to find, and they're getting, and depending on how it was treated in the past, because when you do find them, a lot of them were modified and usually questionably. To have them reliable to drive through RADwood-able is sometimes a challenge.
I always personally felt like RADwood was more European centric. I think it's always kind of lean that way. Like,
Sort of. I felt like there was a good mix, though.
yeah. You didn't see like a million 3 series or a million
There were
944s.
So there were a lot of not a lot. There was a fair number of 944s. There was a kind of a lot of E30s, mostly coupes and convertibles.
Interesting. We know the sedan.
I want to say, yeah, I think I only saw one sedan. It was an automatic. Team sedan on the E30 front, which is ours is about to go away. We'll save that for another. We'll do like maybe a retrospective on each co-shared E30 ownership edition.
That'd be fun.
But yeah, so definitely some E30s. You know what there were a few of? 190Es.
Like the 16V 2.3s?
No, just straight up 190Es. There was a 2.2 190D diesel bone stock.
No shit.
Like buttercup yellow over tan interior.
That thing had to
black
sit
in
in
its
the garage at one time.
It was an early one. It was an early one because it had the steel beam headlights. It didn't have the composite headlamps. Came clickety clacking in. There were a couple of. Okay, we're about to go on a European tangent. I was going to tackle some Japanese stuff, but we're going European.
We were going to get there eventually.
And I've never. Okay, let's talk 190E for a second.
Sure.
I didn't see. There might have been one there, but I didn't see any 2.316s.
That's all we got in the States.
Correct. As far as the Cosworth Happy Fun Special were, we got plenty of the basic ones.
We got tons of regular
2.3s, 8 valve. But there were 3 ducks in a row of 190E 2.6s.
Sure.
Which were later in the run, kind of put in a position, I think anyways, probably not, probably a historian out there is going to crush me for this. But it felt anyways like it was a reaction to the BMW E30 coming with an inline-6 in it, where that car was either the diesel or the 2.3 8-valve, which was not a lot, I think 120 horsepower.
Yeah, no, not good. So yeah, I'm familiar with the 2.3 since I owned one of those. 168 horsepower.
Yeah, 168, that's US market. Rest of world, I believe you got like 180 or something, 185.
They had that variance though. They had like more horsepower. They had like an Evo version or
right. You had Evo 1, Evo 2, and I think like a handful of Evo 3s, and those were 2.5 and more fancy and far more valuable.
Yeah.
But the so 2.6, and one of them was an incredibly cool spec. I didn't know you could do this. It was an 89 190E.
Okay.
2.6, factory, just bright ass red over tan, 5-speed manual, which I didn't know you can get the 2.6 with a manual, but apparently you could.
You can.
And I talked to the guy, he had the original window sticker. It had like later the sport line cladding that you can get and like side skirts.
Now it wasn't a dog leg like my 2.3, was it?
I don't think those were dog legs.
Yeah,
no.
just
I think it was
the 190 16V had the
correct.
Dog leg, which was like one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
That's why you wanted a manual. The automatic was not as much fun, and they had Recaro seats.
It's bizarre they made those the 2.3 16 with an automatic.
But a lot of them were, especially in the States.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, we can't have nice things without ruining them.
But
yeah, 2.6. So, what do you think is cooler? 190E 2.6 factory 5-speed car, say an 89.
Yeah.
Or E30 sedan 2.5 manual.
It's a tough one. That's really tough. I always felt like the interior on the Mercedes felt so much more ancient compared to the E30.
I think it's only because of two things. A, wood trim.
Yeah.
B, the sprung seats.
The switch gear feels old too. I know you didn't get a chance to like get in there and touch dials and stuff.
I have spent some time with a 190E. So when I was in college, when the timing belt let go on my Galant VR4, number 426, may she rest in peace. I needed something to drive, and I had a buddy who he had a new car. His old car sat, and it was an '86 190E, 2.3 8-valve automatic, navy blue with the like saddle tan interior.
Okay.
And it was on Eibach sport springs and 16-inch knockoff monoblocks.
Yeah.
It actually looked pretty sharp. It pulled off the looks okay.
They do look
because I think those Eibach springs were like a 1-inch low. It was like not a big deal. It wasn't fast, but you know you could toss it. It had the old Yokohama ES100 tires on it. Oh boy, remember those?
Yeah.
And good little car. So I drove that thing as a daily for probably 3 months before I got out. Before I was able to get into something for myself. So, you know, I was commuting in it. It was a decent car. And yeah, the old rotary switches.
Yeah.
And the big dip switch push buttons. This had a Sony Explode stereo in it.
Ooh.
So it didn't have the old, like, Becker unit.
I bet that Explode looked just period correct in that car.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't like whatever the one with, like, the swimming, like, digital dolphins.
Yeah, or the F1 cars.
Yes. It wasn't that. But I think the E30 sedan is probably the better driver. I think because you never see it 190E 2.6 with a manual.
Sure.
I think it's kind of the more cool car. I think the E30 is probably nearly double the value.
That's always been the case. Even back in the day, the 190E 16Vs were nothing compared to the E30 M3s.
Oh, sure. And that's even still the case.
Still the case. They did go up quite a bit. They did get recognized finally.
They have.
And they were Genesis, you know. There would be no E30 M3 without the 190 16V. Yeah, I think that's always been the case. But yeah, I can't compare. I've never really spent time in a base 190.
Sure.
But I know the switchgear is pretty much the same. I know the seats got infinitely better on the 16V because they had they had the Recaros, which were absolutely stunning.
Including the back seats, right? You got the
Yes.
little like scalloped,
like bucket seats.
bucket
for the rear,
seats
yeah.
with like a little like, I don't know, a little parts tray thing instead of a middle seat.
Yeah, it's pretty nice in there.
Yeah, I would F with a 190E nowadays. I'd take.
Yeah.
You know what there was? You know, remember how I said I was going to talk KDM for a minute, and then we went on a European tangent.
You did.
There
European
was I think early 90s W124. So it was a 300 just a 300E.
Okay.
JDM 300E. So right-hand drive Mercedes-Benz 300E, the navy with a navy cloth interior.
Okay.
Exceptionally clean car. I don't remember if it was an automatic or a manual, because you could get those in a manual. I think it was automatic.
Probably not automatic.
But it was very, very cool. And a couple showed up in it, and they were wearing like the period correct, like Mercedes-Benz, like blue and white, like jumpsuits. You know, just like windbreaker material jacket and pants. It was really cool.
Pretty awesome. Yeah.
So that was a good mashup. I would like W124 at one point. I've never owned one.
Yeah.
Those were cool. Boy, what else was there? You know what? There was some stuff. There was some imported. We're talking JDM imports, like people importing stuff under the 25-year rule.
Yeah.
There was some stuff that was imported from Europe under the 25-year rule. So there were there were a couple of Delta Integrales.
Those are extremely pricey.
Delta Integrales. A handful of Peugeots. Like various Peugeots.
205 GTIs.
There was a 205. It wasn't a GTI. It was a Rally, which I think was like just kind of a regular spec, but like with like a really cool like appearance package. So special wheels and a little spoiler.
Okay.
I think it's like a 1.3 liter.
Those European hot hatches or something else from that period.
And we never see them.
I know.
Like
that's what
we're exposed. We're always exposed to like there's all this cool JDM stuff we never got, and playing video games and stuff we got exposed to that, but like kind of never really did with the European hot hatch stuff. Truly,
European Ford stuff in the 80s and 90s, we missed out on some absolute gems.
Yes,
for sure, especially with the name Cosworth attached to them. And
I know. Yeah, imagine just like daily, a Lotus Carlton over here or something like that.
Yeah.
Some of the really cool.
Or when Escort was like actually a performance car.
Right. Yeah. No.
You
Yeah. You had all the
GTs, but
yeah. Lotus Cortinas and things like that even earlier.
Yeah.
But so that was really cool. There was, the coolest of the cool, like the likes of you and I would never be able to afford, but a certain Derek Tam Scott, he came through with an actual straight up Group B Lancia 037 rally car, the one that won I believe it was the 1984 like Group B Monte Carlo rally.
Yeah,
just drove it in. It was just absolute insanity, and it looked insane, and it's barely drivable, and incredibly cool there. Boy, what else was there? There was one, I think only one SHO, only one show.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, you showed me that reddish.
Yeah, first gen red with 310,000 miles on it.
Wild.
On the odometer. It's funny. Maybe it's just me. Maybe you can speak to this. Car shows like this, if I see something, I always peek my head and look at the odometer.
Yeah.
Is that just me?
No, I do too. Like especially that one, because I think I saw that one for sale not too long ago.
I don't know. I don't know if this guy bought it or he's had it.
Yeah, it's because I saw one just like that same red, freshly repainted, which it had to have been.
Mm-hmm.
But the shows in general are just not of any value. You can still scoop them for like 3, 4, 5K. It's absolutely
like a very nice one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's wild. That car is so cool.
No, they're good. They're cool. They when you're up on a clean one, because people are like, it's just an early Taurus, and those cars always, people in their mind, they're always garbage.
Right,
and
which they weren't.
There's a splash of that, but they kind of weren't. Like when you see a nice one, they're actually they're put together decently. They look good, but you never see a nice one.
The Taurus single-handedly saved Ford. I mean, mid-'80s. Go look at mid-'80s comparisons to the Taurus. Like the Taurus was.
I mean, you had what, like a Chevy Celebrity? Like,
did you see a celebrity in RoboCop? I don't think so. He was driving a Taurus.
That's true, or a Probe.
Yeah,
but the cops were driving the Probe, right? Was that the cop? Or no, was that Back to the Future?
Yeah.
Sorry, I think Back to the Future too.
Crossing them, man.
That's it. Never crossed streams.
There were no shows yet. The show
Or
came out in
boats.
'89. Yeah. The show came out in '89. And
Sure.
God, that engine. It's all about the engine.
Engine's fantastic. Transmission's decent.
Passable. All manual.
It's passable.
All the early ones are manual.
Yes, passable transmission.
A lot of people are shocked by that because they switched to
Can't
automatic
have
only.
passable trains anymore, but a passable transmission. Very good.
That's good times.
Yeah, exactly. Good car. Good car. They handle okay. They
handle for what it is.
Yeah, I mean for what it is in the period. It's when you're talking. You know what the one thing that annoyed me, and this is silly, the one thing that absolutely annoyed me the most?
Yeah.
Having a manual transmission with a foot actuated parking brake.
Oh my god. There's a few cars like that. Absolutely horrible.
You can tell that like we designed this car and then as a complete afterthought we're like, oh, we should have a manual transmission version, and they're like, man, we're not going to redesign all this stuff. It's only going to be like 8% of the market, so screw it. Having to like off the clutch pedal to then onto like it doesn't. No,
it's horrible. It's like you have to shut the car off in gear.
Correct.
So you don't roll if you're on a hill.
Yes, which you should be doing anyways, but like I in my mind anyways, I would traditionally put the parking brake on first before I'm shutting it off and then placing it in gear.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I don't know. It's kind of. It feels super clunky and awkward when you're doing it. Like, oh, what am I doing here? Poor choice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, pretty good design choice. Yeah, there's some exposed screws and whatnot, some hard plastic, but whatever.
Yeah, but for that time period.
Yeah.
But that power plant's an absolute.
It's
gem.
good. It's good, and so only one there.
Yeah.
Kind of sad.
Aww.
There was an Evo. I think it was an Evo 4 there.
Okay.
Again, not a lot of love for Mitsubishi this year.
You know what? Yeah, I just.
What do you change that next year?
What do you think the average value of the car? I feel like the cars at especially at RADwood, they tend to be pretty expensive. Like if you're gonna round up like what they would currently market value.
Sort of. I mean, those goalposts are always moving, but there was a lot of, there was an immaculate Ford Tempo with a V6 and a manual, like 50,000 mile car.
Was it a GLS?
I don't remember the.
That's so that is like the Tempo show. They someone was like, oh, you like old Fords from this period. They reached out to me through Instagram. They're like, you got to see this, and I didn't even know it existed. A Tempo GLS, which got like the hotted up V6, came with a manual, can come in this cool blue color.
Okay, this was like cream with like a tan interior.
You should have looked on the badging, dude, because most of them were GLs.
I had the original window sticker.
That's freaking amazing. But the GLS was like the show of the Tempo world.
Oh,
but I think it still had drum brakes though in the rear.
Well, you can only
take what you can get.
You can't take the Tempo out of the car. I don't know, but there's a saying there that would be appropriate. You know what there was? Speaking of that era Ford things, there was a bright teal '93 Mercury Sable.
Okay.
Immaculate condition,
Sable, yeah.
52,000 miles.
Wagon.
A sedan.
Okay.
GL. The 3.8, not the 3.0. The 3.8, I think you went from like 140 horsepower in the 3 liter to 140 horsepower in the 3.8. So it's like literally identical. You just got like 25 pound more foot-pound of torque. Or something.
Sure. Yeah.
It was a car. I literally sold that exact VIN number car on Cars Bit.
Oh, okay.
And then I saw it. We were reunited, and it feels so good. And I walked up and I hugged it, and I did my thing. I checked the odometer to see where it was. It's got like 1,000 miles. So that was, and I heard people talking about it because I was running the photo beat. People were talking about cars. Like, dude, did you see that Sable? I was like, I did see that Sable. I know that Sable. Awesome. I've driven that Sable. So that was fun. I'm trying to think of like what other stuff to kind of round us out here. There was a good, let me just kind of spitball something. In that same year, there was an '89 Buick Lesabre T-Type.
Oh,
very unusual car. It was a coupe, it's like a notchback coupe, Buick GM 3800, the old standby. It's not that special, i.e., like it's not like, a Regal T-Type where it was like the turbocharged 6-cylinder.
Okay.
Which is why that was called a T-type.
Yeah, very few.
This was just a
things
trim
there.
level. So you got like special body cladding and a spoiler and special wheels and like bucket seats and stuff. But super rare. And this one was super clean. They also had the original window sticker. They had photos of it like from like the day after it was purchased and stuff. Some really interesting stuff. So that was there. Handful of multiple GLHS Omnis.
No shit.
Multiple GLHS Omnis. There was a GLHS Charger that was there, and it was like
sweet.
they had it like some confirmation that it was built on the very last day of production and all this stuff. There was a Contour SVT, bone stock Contour SVT.
How does
That's
he
car.
go now? That's like
I think it was a '98.
Oh, one of the earlier ones, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny when like there was a guy in there in a 996, and I'm like, I mean, it's technically
Just got in there.
but it doesn't, I don't know. And there was a guy in like a C5 Corvette. Like those cars screamed 2000s to me. Even though a C5 came out in, what, 98?
Yeah.
97?
97.
So, you know, like those cars on the bubble, I don't know. Yeah. But it's kind of the same deal. Like if you show up in a 1980, you know, like a straight up 924, that's kind of a 70s
Or
car.
like a 99 Saab 95 wagon looks pretty 90s still.
Right,
Like,
yeah,
it
there's
does
some
not look
stuff,
like a 2000s
there's some
car.
stuff that's like, okay, that's still a 90s car, it's not a 2000s car.
An early V70R.
And then there's some stuff,
Volkswagen.
correct.
Or I'm sorry,
Volvo.
Volvo V70R. Before the newer style.
There was an 850R, like a buttercream yellow, I don't remember the name of the color, but like a buttercream yellow, very pale yellow 850R that was 5-speed swap.
Manual swap. I was going to say
Manual
that's
swap.
a big difference.
Yeah, it was very,
Yeah.
it was otherwise with bone stock except for the manual swap, which is
Good-
like
good for
adds
them.
it.
Yeah.
There was this incredible E39, which again, it's a 90s car, but it feels more 2000s. But that's right on the bubble, right? Because that was 97 was the first year?
Yeah. So
99?
right there, got in before.
But this is a wagon with like an LS3 and a 6-speed swapped in it. Super lumpy, came rolling in. Brown with like that M5 like caramel interior. That was really cool.
Okay.
There was some good stuff. You know what there wasn't a lot of, just to round us out? Not a lot of Firebirds or Camaros.
Huh.
Handful of 5.0 Mustangs in all various, a lot of the period correct mods, which was cool.
Love it. Yeah.
The one I think that won best, maybe raddest in shows they call it.
Yeah.
Lowered S10, chopped roof, cocaine white on cocaine white with like
Oh damn.
like a green slime kind of motif, like dripping down parts of it, like a custom grill, and like the antenna was like also painted white and like bent in like a Z shape, and then kept going straight up. It had a painted to match BMX bike in the back, and the whole bed was like carpeted with huge like kicker subs in it.
Wow.
And it was slammed with like a body. It was like
That's pretty rad though. That's
it's
pretty
super
cool.
rad. It's super duper rad. That thing was cool. Volkswagen had a strong showing. A lot of Siroccos and GTIs and stuff. And before I just keep going forever and ever, I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. I thought it was a pretty good, there were a lot of Euro stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a pretty good mix.
Heck yeah, man. Sounds like a good show.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep the 80s and 90s theme going with our
Oh.
quiz show?
Oh, I do.
It's my turn to quiz you, right?
I think it is. I think you can, yeah, you can just ruin me. Potentially.
Yeah. Go ahead and intro what we're doing here, and I'll get it.
That sounds good. You can kickstart my heart.
That was on Gran Turismo too.
It was on. So we are doing a print ad quiz game where Chadwick here is going to ask of me to guess what print ad from the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s he will be reciting from. He's going to take an ad. He's going to give me a quick, brief description of the visuals. He will then read the print ad copy, extracting out any extremely giving away information like make, model, other copyrighted items potentially.
Absolutely.
And it's on me to, within 3 guesses, try and figure out what this vehicle, make and model, is. Quiz. Me, sir. What are we going?
Are you ready to rock and roll?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to grip it and rip it.
So I'm going to leave out some obvious taglines
Love
too.
to.
So here we go. Visual, it's a 2-page spread. Hey now.
Oh, boy.
Top part is the vehicle, probably front 3/4 view.
Okay. A
And then-
popular one in these.
Yeah, very popular. So here you go. You won't find this Oldsmobile.
Wah, wah, wah.
You know what? I'm going to keep that in there because I still think it's a challenge.
Oh boy.
So
Okay.
you won't find this
My first
Oldsmobile
hint.
touring through anybody's family album. For the past 5 years, this all-new blank has existed only in minds of an elite cadre of automotive engineers.
An enclave.
I think actually this is going to be challenging still.
Okay.
It resists the wind with an affinity that would do a needle proud.
Oh boy.
It sticks to the road like gum. These are some great lines. by
This
the
is,
way.
yeah. I'm glad you picked this one.
At 0.297, its
Ooh.
drag coefficient hovers somewhere between exceptional and whoopee.
Okay.
This is good.
This
But
is
beneath its
fantastic.
sleek, double-sided galvanized exterior, the blank is pure muscle. Its body strength and rigidity are the basis of one of the world's most totally developed suspension systems.
You know what? I've always tried to shy away from those impartially and not totally developed
Yeah.
suspension systems. The ones that are just like Rube Goldberg machines.
No one's driven this thing yet, so you might die.
Say what you-
The inclusion of four-wheel independent suspension, here's your tech stuff.
Okay.
Front-wheel drive, of course.
Yeah.
Four-wheel disc brakes.
Okay.
And a 2.8 liter multi-port fuel-injected V6 is rare. Outside the world's most technologically advanced automobiles. Is that true? That's pretty much it. I gave Oldsmobile away, but I still think you have a huge challenge ahead of you, my
Oh
friend.
boy, a 2.8. That is tough because when I think Oldsmobile, I don't think of a 2.8. I think 3.8. I think maybe quad 4. I think some, disastrously bad V8.
Yeah.
Okay, Oldsmobile that is somewhat sleek in its aerodynamic.
Sure.
Aerodynamism? Dynamicness?
Dynamism. Also, because there's also a lot of
2.8.
GM products with that engine, so
There are, but they're usually kind of piles of garbage.
Cavalier Z24. thank you very
Correct.
much.
Okay. Let's
know,
think.
right?
So with the 2.8, that's kind of sleek in design. Because when you were talking sleek in design with the Oldsmobile hat tip, I was thinking maybe it was going to be something like the Oldsmobile Tornado Trofeo, but I don't think those were. I think those were all a 3.8. I don't think you can get those with a 2.8 because that was a bigger sporting coupe. The 2.8s I think were pretty much relegated for compact-ish cars. I don't know if you can get. I'm just thinking of stuff that would be somewhat aerodynamic. You've got the Achieva, which feels pretty aerodynamic. I know you can get that with a 4-cylinder, and I know you can get it with a quad 4 in the SC and SCX. I don't know if you can get that with 2.8. You had the Oldsmobile. You had the various Cutlasses, whether it's like the Cutlass Supreme or the Cutlass Sierra. And it could be that. No mention of coupe or convertible, or coupe or 4-door, huh?
Nope.
I think I'm gonna go, because those early Cutlass, I'm trying to think if it made mention of cutting through the air or something that would be like mildly punny. You know what? I'm gonna, just to kind of narrow us down, I'm gonna go Oldsmobile Cutlass Oldsmobile Cutlass. Cutlass Supreme. Let's go Supreme.
Cutlass Supreme.
I like my tacos.
Is that
Well
your-
sauced and Supreme.
Is that what we're locking you in at?
I'm locking me in
First
with
guess?
Cutlass Supreme.
Well, this is not your father's Oldsmobile. It is the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme.
It is the Supreme.
It is the
Holy
Supreme.
crap. Okay, I thought it was almost. I thought it was maybe gonna try and get to I was really thinking it was gonna be more the Achieva, because of the coefficient of drag. But coefficient of drag is a weird thing, right?
But in ads, especially at that time, aerodynamics was thrown in there all the time.
That's like when they'd quote like 40 miles a gallon in the real world. It'd be like
the
20
Cutlass
miles.
Supreme really changed because Oldsmobile before had like traditionally a flat rear shield that was more kind of boxy, more.
And they kind of bubbled it a little bit.
A little
and
bit.
then you had like a front end kind of grill treatment that was a little more flush. That's why I was thinking like the Trofeo.
Right.
And that was too big. You couldn't get that with the
I don't.
2.8.
You nailed it. I did slip and say Oldsmobile, but if I hadn't said Oldsmobile, you could have been open for all of GM's horrible lineup. In which case, there's a lot.
Yeah. You've got like Pontiac Sunbird. You've got
Cavaliers. You had Berettas.
Sunfire. You've got Beretta. Yeah, you've got Beretta. You've got Corsica.
Here's the Cutlass Supreme, my friend.
Skylord.
So it was a big departure because Oldsmobiles all looked the same for the longest time. Like they kept that like traditional coupe format. It is a coupe also.
For the record, I feel like I pretty well lucked into that. Like I kind of was able to connect the dots a little bit, but I think 0%. Yeah, I was thinking Cutlass Sierra, which was a different, very different look. Yeah, very different. But I was really thinking I was gonna go Cutlass Supreme, and then it would maybe narrow me down to what I really thought it was. I thought it was gonna be the Achieva.
Yes.
Because that's much more of a like pointier, kind of like roundier kind of a deal. So the Hail Mary, the first guess Hail Mary.
And I did slip with Oldsmobile, but also if I didn't say Oldsmobile,
I'd have been lost at sea.
Yeah.
You were queuing me up for a
rough one.
A rough.
But this was a cool car. Like I like Oldsmobile, and I didn't want to give away the tagline. This is not your father's Oldsmobile, which we talk about a lot, which is saving Oldsmobile and or saving Buick. We talked about how Buicks like tended to look at older audiences, try to make themselves new, reinvent themselves. Oldsmobile did the same thing. They had a couple cars where they really tried this and didn't really succeed.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to pick one, let's say Oldsmobile died or Buick died at the same time of Oldsmobile, and you were to bring one back, what would it be? I feel like it probably would have been Buick.
I'd probably bring Buick back first.
But Oldsmobile.
It's kind of tough.
Yeah.
Olds had some good muscle cars back.
Yeah, you had the 442.
Yeah.
You had the it's funny, my brain almost said Wildcat. Like, no, that's a Buick.
Yeah.
Damn it, brain.
True.
Like they are very interchangeable.
Interchangeable.
Superfluous.
Yeah, you can't really. Yeah. The Sierras were around a lot. What was it the Oldsmobile? What Sierras?
Yeah. What was the what's the one from Fargo?
He was an Oldsmobile dealer, right? So
right, but it was always the Oldsmobile. Was it the Sierra? It might have been the Sierra.
I think it was the Cutlass Sierra. I just actually watched
the
this movie last night.
the Calais.
The one you're obsessed
with. Yeah. The international series. Yeah, dude, we still the quest for the quad 4.
I just can't.
The quad 4 man. They don't exist anymore.
Don't exist. Well, great job, man. We should definitely celebrate that.
We should definitely abuse some really underrated street drugs.
Oh, okay.
I don't know enough people. Maybe it's a good thing, but I don't know enough people abusing PCP on the daily.
It's kind of grown out of fashion.
Yeah, it should come back. You know that Quaaludes or cheese balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should get into it.
Cheese balls.
Yeah.
Balls.
PC balls.
You want to lead us off?
Balls.
You want to take the first hit as the winner?
I will smash on some PCP. Boy, where to start? You know what I do have?
Yeah.
I still have my mom's stolen S2000. They are back from vacation. I have yet to return it.
Oop.
However, I got new tires for it. I bit the bullet. I did the tire thing.
Yeah.
I got the rest of the mechanicals up to snuff by paying someone to do it begrudgingly just because I'm too short on time.
Sure.
I think we discussed about it briefly last time. Water pump was leaking, just attrition, you know?
Yeah.
Fluids were out. I finally ran a full actual tank of gas through it, so that makes it a happy camper. New tires, and I spared no expense, as the late great John Hammond from Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Would say. PS4 S's.
Great choice.
I found a way to do it and not completely lose my lunch down, because like the local joint quoted me like $1,600, like I'm out of imbalance for it. So without incriminating myself, I sort of found somebody who knows somebody who has a wholesale account at a tire wholesale distributor in Benicia, Benacaya, California.
Oh, okay.
And so I called them and I'm like, hey, PS4S is in these two sizes. It's staggered, right?
Oh, that's right.
It's staggered sizing. And so they did have both sizes. They had them in stock. I'm like, hey, can I just can you put them at will call and I'll pick them up and pay cash? They're like, sure, we can do that. So I drove over there. I drove over there. It was so good. Oh, I peeped all over my chest and I picked them up and yeah, so I got them. Like one set was just over $200 for the pair on the front or each, and then the rear was like $223 each for the rears, and then because it's wholesale account, there's no taxes. So I was like $800 and whatever out the door. It's like $850 and change out the door.
What a grab.
No, tires are not cheap. So I was able to get through, I don't want to say unscathed, but for that would have been the same cost if we went to Costco and got some Potenza Sport all seasons or, yeah, I mean, because of the tire size, it's not actually most of the choices are fairly sporting. I couldn't go out and get some prime welds or something. Some literally there's Ling Longs. It's a brand of tire. I did not put Ling Longs on the S2000. So it is a shame. Actually, that'd be fun. It's
drift mode. Drift mode.
Hot garbage tire. Well, I would have left the 12-year-old, the 12-year-old Sport Contact all seasons on it.
Sure.
So it's good. It's driver ready. I almost drove it here today, but instead I drove the Suburban, which I will discuss probably at a later date. And you'll have to check out my bourbon.
Can't wait to check it out.
Dog. What have you been doing?
So lately, here's the thing. Listing cars for sale is a lot of work.
It is.
You have to write an ad. You have to take good quality photos. I mean, you don't have to. Clearly, most people don't follow this.
Right.
So lots of information. I put a lot of photos in there. I actually show the imperfections. If you look at my ads, you will see driver bolsters, which is the most unpopular shot ever.
Yeah, there's always a seatbelt covering it up.
Yeah, or it's just out of frame.
Yeah, exactly. Barely. The door is open in just a way where it shrouds somebody.
Exactly. So I have 2 cars listed for sale right now. Yes, I have been trying to fix everything with my condition of collecting cars.
Yes.
So currently for sale is the Accord V6 manual. It's still up for grabs. I've gotten some interest on that.
Good car.
It gets lost in the Accord for sale section because there's so many listed, right? And then I've also listed my 2006 Porsche Cayman S.
Yeah.
To free up funds. I'm actually going to be doing a lot more overland work on my Land Cruiser that's behind us in frame right now.
You're going to spec it out?
So yeah, I want to get the tent system. I want to get a rear swinging gate so I can mount the tire. The aftermarket tires are...
You're always a bit of a slinger.
That's
true.
Yeah, I dropped my keys in the fishbowl at the party.
Definitely. Yeah, you drop your keys into the cup holder in the 100 series.
I just throw my keys at the most attractive woman at the party. Is that too aggressive or?
It's a little out there. You might want to slow your roll, but hey, if it works, it works.
Gotta work with what you got. But anyway, just so the tires on this are almost a 35-inch the way I have them set up now, so I can't mount it underneath. It doesn't fit underneath the vehicle, so you don't like to go off-roading.
Too big to mount.
Yeah,
understandable.
Same as the key throne.
Yep.
So you need a way to get your tire and wheel combination out there on the trails. So I can mount it, put some jerry cans back there, roof tent. Thing's gonna be ready to rock and roll.
Bitchin'.
So I'll put the funds into that. I really want to get this finished off and go on some adventures this summer.
Cool.
So that's it. But it's so much time, dude. Just communicating with potential buyers, selling it, cleaning it every time you want to show it.
Dealing with time wasters.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yes.
So that my PCP is just trying to sell cars.
Good.
Which is kind of new to me.
Probably not as good of a time to be selling cars as it was maybe 6 to 12 months ago.
No. Yeah.
But still in a decent part of the market.
Yeah.
Perhaps there's another podcast episode to be had in this discussion.
Absolutely.
But yeah, time to sell some cars. I'm doing the same. I know your struggle.
Yeah. So
I know it.
And it's it feels good. I've got to take the fleet numbers down. So that's where I'm at.
Yes.
So that's our PCP for the week, guys. Thanks again.
I think that's our episode.
Yeah. Thanks again for joining us at another Pointless Automotive podcast.
Thanks, guys.
Chadwick and Frank here as always. Frank, where can we find you on the internet?
Several different places. Potentially in a Yahoo chat room. You can find me on Alta Vista. You can find me on GeoCities. You can find me on Instagram. That's going to be at the Photographer's Garage. Same with on the YouTube, if you so like. How about you, Chadwick?
Yeah, if you're using the search engine Hotbot, you can find me at Auto Obsessive Garage. Primarily on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram too.
There you go. Perhaps in that crawler.
Yeah, of course.
Good one.
And then we're at APA Podcast. Check us out on the tubes. We do record our episodes of the podcast.
Search stuff on Dogpile.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one.
I've been in some good dog piles. Yeah.
That's true. Been at the bottom. Come out very much scathed.
Come out on top.
Exactly.
I always come out.
It's, we want to talk about it. This is officially over. Thank you for tagging along.
Take care.
Let me push around the button because I always forget. Was this the laughter one? Oh, it's applause. That'll do.
That'll do.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.